For your entire life, you probably had one financial rule drilled into your head. Save, save, save. And you did it. You were disciplined, you put money away, and now you're in retirement. But here's the strange part, the part nobody really talks about. After all that saving, the idea of actually spending the money, well, it can feel really, really wrong. Today, we're going to talk about this hidden challenge of retirement and why it's so incredibly hard to flip that switch from saver to spender.
So, let's just ask the big question right up front. You did everything right, didn't you? You worked hard, saved diligently, and built up that nest egg you dreamed of. So why is it so tough to actually start enjoying it? It can feel a little scary even. Well, I want you to know, if you're feeling that way, you are absolutely not alone. And that's what we're going to dig into today. Why this happens, and more importantly, what you can do about it.
Believe it or not, this feeling is so common, it actually has a name. It's called the saving paradox. Some people call it the permission to spend problem. And here's the key thing to get. This isn't about the math in your account. It's all about what's going on up here, in your head. Think about it. The very habits that made you a rock star saver can actually become a roadblock to enjoying your retirement. For what 30, 40 years you've been telling yourself, don't touch that money. It's no surprise that it's tough to just flip a switch and suddenly feel okay spending it.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this is just a feeling, an emotional thing, but the data tells a whole other story, and it is absolutely fascinating. Some incredible research from a financial expert named Michael Kitces shows just how widespread this really is. And get this, what the numbers are telling us is that for most retirees, the biggest financial risk isn't running out of money. Nope, it's the risk of not spending enough of it. I know, it sounds crazy, right? And this right here, this is probably the most shocking finding of all. Let me just read it. Most retirees will never draw down the retirement portfolio. I mean, think about what a retirement portfolio is for. It's there to be used, to be spent. That's the whole point of it. But the hard data shows that for the majority of people, that just doesn't happen. They're so hesitant, so cautious, that they barely even touch the money they originally saved.
So just how big of a deal is this? Well, check this out. The study looked at people using that good old 4% rule. You probably heard of it, where you take out 4% of your portfolio every year. Well, it found that a whopping 2/3 of them, 2 out of every 3 people, ended a 30-year retirement with more than double the money they started with. Let me say that again. After 30 years of spending in retirement, they had twice as much money as when they began. It's just incredible.
And if you thought that was surprising, hold on. It gets even wilder. If you're following that same 4% rule, the odds are actually higher that you will 5x your money, grow it to 5 times what you started with, than you are to spend a single penny of your original savings. For so many folks, their investments are just growing way faster than what they're comfortable spending.
Okay, so this begs the question. If people aren't touching their original savings, their principal, when does that actually happen? Well, take a look at this timeline. It takes a long time. For the first decade or so of your retirement, your portfolio is probably going to grow faster than you're spending from it. You might not actually touch that initial nest egg until you're 15, maybe 20 years into retirement. We're talking about being in your late 70s or even your 80s. And for a lot of people, by the time they start to really spend down their savings, they're well into their late 80s, which is often past when we expect to live.
All right, let's make this real with some numbers. Let's say you retire with a cool $1 million. Now, in a pretty standard scenario, you could take out $61,000 in your very first year, and you still wouldn't touch that original million for 17 years. Even if we get more conservative, say with lower investment returns and higher inflation, it would still take 18 years before you start dipping into your initial savings. The hard truth is, many people will pass away long before they've spent any significant part of the nest egg they're worked so hard to build.
So the data couldn't be clear, right? There's this huge gap between what retirees could spend and what they actually do spend. And that tells us something really important. This isn't just a spreadsheet problem, it's a psychology problem. So let's peel back the layers and really look at the mindset that causes this underspending.
It usually starts with that little nagging voice in the back of your head, right? Do I have enough? What if I run out? And that one little fear can start a whole cycle. Your focus shifts from how do I enjoy this money to how do I protect this money? You start making decisions based on your gut, on that anxiety, instead of on a solid plan. And this leads to something fascinating called loss aversion, which we'll talk more about in a second. And the final result? You underspend. You hold back because it just feels safer.
So what is this loss aversion thing? Well, it's a powerful quirk of the human brain. We feel the sting of a loss about twice as much as we feel the joy of an equal gain. Now, in retirement, here's how that plays out.
Every time you sell a stock or a mutual fund to pay for groceries or a vacation, your brain doesn't see it as using your money for its intended purpose. No, it flags it as a loss. Your account balance went down. Even though that's exactly what the money is there for, it feels like you're going backward. It feels risky and it feels painful.
And you know, this anxiety doesn't happen in a vacuum. Sometimes the financial advice we hear all the time can actually make it worse. We hear about these rigid rules, like the 4% rule being the absolute law. Or we're told you always have to delay Social Security. Or that taxes are the enemy and must be avoided at all costs. Now, a lot of this advice has good intentions, but these one-size-fits-all rules can box you in and create more fear. They don't always consider what you actually want out of your life.
Okay, so we've looked at the numbers, we've looked at the psychology. It can seem a bit daunting, but here's the really good news. You can absolutely overcome this. And the solution isn't some new complicated formula or a magic withdrawal number. It's about something much more fundamental. It's about changing your entire mindset about retirement.
Let me paint a picture for you. Let's say you've got grandkids who live clear across the country, and for years your budget has allowed you to visit them once a year. It's what you do. So you get to retirement and you just keep doing it. But what if you sat down and ran the numbers? And what if your plan showed you with total confidence that you could safely visit them 5 times a year? Would that change things for you? See, the point isn't that you have to spend more money. The point is knowing what's truly possible. It's about making choices based on facts and your desires, not just on old habits and fear.
And that right there, that is the big shift we're talking about. The old mindset, the one based in fear, is always asking, what's a safe withdrawal rate? The whole focus is on risk, on preservation, on not running out. But the new mindset, the one based in confidence, asks a totally different question. It asks, how can I use this money to get the most satisfaction out of my life? The whole focus shifts from fear to intention. It's not just about protecting a number on a spreadsheet, it's about living your life to the fullest. All right, we have covered a ton of ground today, from some really surprising data to the deep psychology of spending. So let's boil it all down to the most important takeaways that you can use as you think about your own retirement.
Okay, here's your action plan. Number 1, just know that this permission to spend problem is a real thing. If you feel it, you're normal, you're not alone. Number 2, remember what the data says. For most people who saved well, the bigger risk is actually underspending, not overspending. Number 3, understand that it's fear driving this, especially that loss aversion we talked about. It's a mental game. Number 4, the solution isn't a new number. It's a new mindset. It's about planning your life, not just your money. And finally, and this is the big one, do the work to understand what's truly possible with your savings. That knowledge is what gives you the power to live the life you really want.
So I'll just leave you with this one final question to think about. Is your retirement plan designed for preservation, or is it designed for satisfaction? Really thinking about that could change everything for you. And hey, if you found this conversation helpful, please do us a favor and like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retirement Finance Explained. We're here to give you simple and clear guidance on retirement, savings, and your financial security. Thanks so much for watching.